What is up, Sooner Nation? I am Casey Mallon, and you are now in a Sooner state of mind. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcast and Spotify. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest. Pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200K. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. Sooner Nation, how we feeling today? I thought about getting on last night and doing the show right after the game. I needed to process for a little bit, take it in, think about it. We've been looking forward to that moment for so long, and it did not go the way that we wanted it to. Tennessee rolls into Norman, beats the Sooners 25-15. And Tennessee's a good team. They are really good on defense. They're pretty dang good on offense as well. But this was a game that the Sooners, too many mistakes. A lot of the stuff we've seen in the first 3 games, there was a continuation of that last night. Specifically getting into second and long, third and long, constantly behind the chains, not getting enough out of the offense on the early downs. And that was very unfortunate because we got such a great effort out of the defense last night. There was a little bit of good. I thought we saw some signs of life in there. Had Nick Anderson back for a drive or two. Not sure if it was the same injury, but I didn't feel like they rushed him back too soon, but I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there. So just very unfortunate. But once again, this offense was not producing like it should or needed to be. And Jackson Arnold obviously had the worst game of his young career so far. 2 fumbles and an interception. Very, very costly turnovers. I mean, when aren't they? But they were. It really swayed the game last night and made it very difficult to win. And, 3 first half points when we had some opportunities there. The defense, outstanding. I mean, just outstanding. And that's brutal to see when it's been so long since we've had a great defense on this team. And where this defense is, I mean, hindsight is always 20/20, but this offense needed to be led by a veteran quarterback during this transition. And I know that not everybody Dylan Gabriel doesn't possess all the tools that Jackson Arnold will eventually have. The arm strength, getting to push it down the field and all that. But what this offense needed was just somebody to execute. I mean, it's not like we're getting the big play with Jackson Arnold's big arm. Don't have but a handful of plays over 20 yards on the season. Can't help but think if we had someone that sees the game a little better, someone with more experience, would just be making this offense function as it needs to be. I know the offensive line has been banged up, and same with the receivers. But when we got the change at quarterback last night, we saw that there were plays out there to be had. And Mike Hawkins was making those plays. So this game is so frustrating because the Sooners were able to stay in it. They just could not get it going on offense. And as we saw, Mike Hawkins came into the game with the last drive of the first half. We weren't sure if that was just going to get us to halftime or be the switch into the second half. The Sooners get the stop in the second half, and Hawkins comes out. And it did take him a little while to get it going. Couldn't get any points in the third quarter there. But we saw signs of life when he came in there, and especially late when they started moving the ball. And there was just a spark there. I haven't felt good about this offense all season. We thought, oh, they'll get there, it'll start clicking, but it just wasn't doing it. And then when Hawk got in there, we started seeing glimpses of it. And I think he's done enough to get a second opportunity to start next week. I know it's hard and you don't want to rattle Arnold's confidence moving forward, and maybe at some point he would get the job back. Maybe even this week they go back to him. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out during the week, but I do think Hawkins provided some electricity that's been missing on that side of the ball. We had a couple big plays. We saw some excitement there. Obviously, the keeper where he did the got flipped over in the air. So I think, we're going to see him moving forward. And just to go back to the Dylan Gabriel for a minute, I hate to give Texas any other props or Mannings for that matter, but they saw the situation in Texas and there was no rush to get him out there. Now, ironically, he played this week and last week because of injury, but it wasn't a push. They weren't running Quinn Ewers out of there. So Manning could be the starter and hopefully not losing him. And it seems like that's what we did with DG, just kind of pushed him out to give Arnold the reins to this offense. And so far, he's not been ready for it. And that's not a slight against him. It's hard. Quarterbacking is hard, especially at this level. And it is a transition, and there is some on-the-job training that needs to go. But for as big as the transition was this year going into the SEC, with all that entails, and plus the senior, not necessarily, but upper division players on this defense that came back. This is a championship caliber defense. I totally believe that. I believe it even more now, seeing some of those new looks that we got last night. If we could have done anything on offense, it would have been a pretty good game. But this is a championship caliber defense. We had that cohesion on offense. We had the veteran leadership. And we opened the door and watched it walk away. And there are times when you just do put the youngin out there and let him go. But the way this team is set up, maybe we should have thought about that a little bit harder. And it would be tough with the struggles of the offensive line. It is hard to get the run game going there, but that makes the need for a polished quarterback even greater. Take those gimmies. We can get it down the field 4, 5, 6, 7 yards at a time, taking what's there. We just can't have the catastrophic mistake. And that so far is what's really doing Jackson Arnold in. Well, there's a lot of things, but that's been a big component of it. And last night, Sooners defense gets us that ball inside the 5-yard line. First play, fumble. Should have been 3 right there, but probably 7. And then the early interception, he didn't see the defender coming back. That's fine, but the guy was covered anyways. He was throwing into double coverage, and it was a poor throw. So just not a good decision. And then the other fumble, which was the lateral, the backwards pass, and one hopped it out there. Got to be better. The standard is higher. I think dude is super talented, and I don't want to crush him because he's learning and it's difficult, and that's a great defense. I mean, they are really good, but our offense should be really good too. There's a ton of good players on there, 4 and 5 stars. They just had to figure it out, and it was just not there. So I think we got to ride this hot hand at least for another week. I know you don't want to play the game where you're going back and forth and, you know, you got 2 starters, you got no starters, but the way the offense was moving and started to move at the end, there was some electricity there, and I think we have to ride that out a little bit longer. We'll see what happens in the middle of the week, but I think we owe it to the team, and I think we owe it to this defense. It's incredible defense. I'm so proud of the way those guys played. They freaking battled, had short fields all during the first half and were able to limit those drives to a couple field goals. They had the one breaking long touchdown. But overall, they didn't give up a lot of big plays. Thornton Jr., man, that guy is a stud. There are some studs on that Tennessee team. Don't get me wrong. They did a lot, but I feel like if we could have just made the playing field a little more even. I know we created turnovers for them, but our mistakes were catastrophic. I mean, turnovers hurt you no matter what, but the timing of ours was just brutal. And the run game still, I wouldn't even say it is a work in progress. Saw a couple good things. Javonte Barnes hit the corners early. That was impressive. We had that 2-back set last week against Tulane that looked pretty effective, and I think we saw it on the first play of the game, and it didn't come back. Taylor Tatum, only 3 carries. I don't know if he missed a block or there was an assignment gap that got him out of there, but didn't see him get back at all. And I love Gavin Sawchuk, but dude looks frozen. I mean, he looks slow, and I don't know if it's mental or physical or just his running style with this line needs to, a little more space before he can get it going, but he hasn't looked like himself this year. And I know it's much easier to nitpick when things aren't going well, but I haven't seen it yet. So this will be a good week of reflection for the entire team. And we'll see what they ultimately do at quarterback. I think, like I said, I think Hawk did enough to see it. And, Jackson right now is just lost in the sauce. And it's going to take a while. So maybe it will do good to sit back and learn and just watch a little bit. The tight end's got to do a better job of blocking. That didn't help anything. That didn't help either quarterback. Saw those guys whiff on the edge a couple times. Quarterback got blasted because of it. And then, talked about Nick Anderson getting hurt. Kendall Dolby. Total bummer. Sucks. Looked like a awful injury. And it's just a shame. Feel sorry for the dude. Hopefully he can come back stronger and, do some work. I don't know what the extent of the injury is. It looked pretty bad. I don't know if he'll be ready to train for the draft come April, maybe. But I think dude will come back and be able to take his talent to the next level. Dudes that continue to just flash. Robert Spears-Jennings. Dude is having an incredible season. I know he left with injury. I didn't see what that injury was. I haven't heard anything this morning. I haven't even been online. I've just been like marinating in my thoughts about this game. Spears-Jennings, last couple games has been incredible. So with whatever the injury is, hopefully it's not too bad. And, maybe it's minor, hopefully. So we'll have to see. Lewis Carter, dude's playing some incredible football too. He's been everywhere. And I really love what I'm seeing out of him. Starting to take his game to a next level. Trace Ford had some flash plays there. Des Malone, I thought, was solid. Stutz only 3 tackles. It felt like a lot more than that, and I'm never worried about his contribution. You normally see him leading up there in tackles for the team, but still incredible presence, busting his ass every play, and I'm not worried about the total there. But it's weird to see him down there with only a couple tackles. Grayson Halton, every week, dude does a little more. Had the big fumble recovery, and he's playing some outstanding football too. Our Mason Thomas was great again. And overall, that's one of my favorite defensive performances I've seen in quite some time with this squad. I mean, we didn't get the result we wanted, but they kept us in that game for so long. Offense kept them, basically tied one hand behind their back with the poor plays, the turnovers, the safety. I mean, it just was nonstop, no production. Um, it makes me sick to think that we might be wasting this defense. Hopefully not. I mean, maybe Hawk comes in and that's the spark. That's putting a lot on a freshman quarterback who, has played about a half and getting ready to go on the road and, play in a tough environment. But what we're doing so far is not working. So at this point, if we're going to try to save the season, I think that's what we got to do. 222 total yards, and I think we got most of that late in the second half. But if you want to feel like crap today more than you already do, 34 rushing attempts, 36 yards from an Oklahoma Sooners football team. 1.1 yard per carry. No, just no. That's never going to be the standard. It makes me sick. Tennessee ran the ball 52 times for 150 yards. That's less than 3 yards a carry. These cats were running the ball for almost 340 yards a game. That's what I just can't believe it. We finally had the defense of our dreams. It's been so long, and here they are. And we're at a crossroads on offense. And to think that we had DG here that I think would have this team in championship contention. You just got to make the plays that are there in any football game. If you don't have penalties, if you don't have turnovers, if you don't make the mistake to give them the opportunity, you're going to be in every damn game. We were in this one. We would have had a chance if we could have gotten anything going on offense or even just not had the mistakes. But 24 minutes of time of possession, and the defense held up like they did. Just incredible. Just incredible. I'm so stoked for these guys. They give up 6 points in the second half. And I just don't hope we're not wasting it, but there is time. It's a young season. See what happens with the offense, but It's frustrating. And I'm sure everybody out there is feeling the same way, but everything's still out there. It's a 12-team playoff. Schedule doesn't get any freaking easier, but it is what it is. And I'm really not sure what's going to happen on the quarterback side of things, but we shall find out probably midweek. I don't know if they're going to hide it right up until game time and be like, "Oh yeah, Hawkins is our guy, or Arnold is," but yeah, it's a precarious situation there, but it just was not good enough. So I think we owe it to this defense to give Hawkins another shot because it was at least making the offense function a little bit. And there was electricity there, man. I'm not gonna say that there wasn't, and I'm excited for him. I'm not excited for what that might mean for Arnold and his future and all these things, but that's this biz. The most frustrating thing to me is we had a good, borderline great, competent quarterback that could have just done what we needed him to do. That's when you get all those starts. That's the bonus of it, just not making those mistakes. And DG was always very careful with the football. Now, he might have gotten destroyed because this O-line has been what it is, but I think if you're playing accurate football and you're hitting what's there, maybe makes these defenses slow up a little bit. But that's neither here nor there now. But it's just really hard to stomach knowing that we had that and we have this defense. I mean, this defense is no joke. They're going to keep us in games. Like I said in the week, I thought 24 points would win this game. You take away that safety, 24 points would have won this game. So let's see how they respond, though. Everybody can be a leader when it's going well. When it's not, that's when your character is tested. That's when you find out what you're made of. And we are going to find out what this team is made of. I think they're with this defense, they're going to be able to keep us in games if we can just not give other teams points when we're on offense, like a pick six or the bad safety, or turning it over when we're inside their 5-yard line. We shall see. Next week, first road test, going to Auburn. So people say that's a very difficult place to play, but our defense should be good enough to make some things happen. And then we get to the bye week, which probably be a pretty good time. So looking at that would make a lot of sense. Give Hawk this start this weekend, and then have that week off to kind of get everything in order and have the plan moving forward. Still everything to play for. We knew we weren't going undefeated this season. We knew that Tennessee was going to be a tricky game. So we take that L and move forward because lots left to be played for, and we're not giving up on this season. And championship caliber defense, yada, 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 all these things. So around college football, Friday night, we talked about Illinois at Nebraska. The Fighting Illini win that thing in OT, 31-24. Illinois, pretty solid game there. Dylan Raiola, still an incredibly exciting player. Almost did enough to get them in there. He's a freshman quarterback. it's going to get better there too. But he is fun to watch. I think it's on the up and up for Nebraska. Another brutal loss, which they've gotten all too accustomed to the last few years, but I think they are going to be okay. Isaiah Nayor, dude, this cat, 4 grabs, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's an exciting player. Lots of good stuff going on at Nebraska. I'm not going to cry for them because I think they are going in the right direction. Clemson destroyed NC State. Wow. We're just putting some dirt on Clemson, and they come out and play a pretty good ball game. See what happens down the stretch with those guys. This game brought me a little bit of joy. That joy was extinguished in the evening. But until then, I was pretty stoked. Michigan 27, USC 24. Michigan looks like they were rolling in this thing, and then SC comes storming back. But late in that game, Mullings, dragging Trojans downfield, breaks off the huge run, 50-plus yards, 53 yards to be exact, late in that thing. Michigan's going down. The only complaint I have is about a minute left in the game, down there in a goal-to-goal situation, and they throw on second down, stops the clock, and lets SC keep one of those timeouts. Like, Sharon, come on, dog. Run that rock down there, especially the way they had been doing it. Run that clock out, run that rock. But it worked out. I just had to do it on 4th down, and Michigan gets the big 27-24 win. Way to bounce back. They were having some quarterback issues. I don't know if they're fixed, but it looks like they are going in the right direction. Utah at Okie State ended up having no Cam Rising in this game. Utah got up big. Looked like they were going to roll this thing, and those Pokes came fighting back, kind of like in the Arkansas game, but come up just a little bit short, 22-19. Isaac Wilson wasn't great for Utah, but that physical Utah style of football, it was on full display on Saturday. Michael Bernard, dude, 25 carries, 182 yards, just ripping it. Alex Bowman struggled in this one. He had a couple interceptions, only 16-33, 200 yards. And Ollie Gordon, 11 carries, 42 yards. On the season, just hasn't really gotten it going yet. 73 carries, 258 yards, only 3.5 a carry, 4 touchdowns. I mean, he did close to that a couple games last year, like a game, maybe not that many carries, but 2 fitties, nothing, that's right where his production was. So Utah's a good team, and they're doing this without Cam, who was close to coming back. They get Cam Rising back in there. We talked about it. I do think they are the top of that conference, and they're a tough team. That's going to be a tough out for anybody. They have a great style. They impose that physical will on whoever they're playing. So I'm kind of an Uda fan from afar. Just a really good football game. Vanderbilt at Mizzou. Mizzou holds on to win 30-27. Overtime. Vandy's kicker misses a field goal to preserve that win for the number 7th ranked Missouri Tigers. Maybe they should have won. Their field goal kicker missed a bunch of kicks too, so maybe it was right, but you didn't expect Vandy to take them into overtime at home, but they did. But we don't get to enjoy that because we had our own loss to deal with, so we'll get to find out what's up with Missouri a little bit later in this season. So in hindsight, I guess we want all these teams that we have to play to stay undefeated until we play them. help us climb back up there. Who knows how far we're going to drop? I mean, we'll see when the polls come out this week, but none of that matters. Just got to focus and move forward. Miami destroyed USF. I thought that might be a tight game, and it was for a little bit, but late in that thing, Miami just absolutely pulled away. They end up winning 50-15. Game was tied at 15, I think. I think actually UCF was up 15-14. And that's when the Chuds came out. Texas A&M barely wins their game, but we don't really talk about A&M on this show. Ole Miss destroys. We talked a little bit about Arch Manning earlier, and they absolutely destroyed Louisiana Monroe 51-3. Got a little slow start. Not great numbers for Manning. 15-29, 258, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You wouldn't expect him to have all those struggles against Louisiana Monroe. I guess it's hard to say they struggled when, it was 21-0 after the first quarter. So, and, his first start, but this is a really good team. General Booty overwhelmed, 8-19, 42 yards, interception. Ugh. Jaden Blue for those Longhorns, 25, 124, 3 touchdowns. That's a good offense. Not sure when Ewers is going to be back. Sark has said that it's his gig as soon as he does return. I think that is the case. So I'm sure he's going to be back for the Sooners game in a couple weeks, but we shall see. Recovering from that oblique injury. I talked about this being a tough place to play, and Kansas State Wildcats found that out. They got moshed on by BYU 38-9. Wow. That was one of the late games and absolutely dominated. We said that's a tough place to play, and, that's a pretty tough team there. Avery Johnson really struggled, a couple interceptions. They couldn't really get anything going on offense. And BYU just kind of wins ugly, man. You turn the ball over like that, that's bad things. So Utah kind of separating itself at the top of the Big 12. And speaking of Big 12, how about them Colorado Buffaloes? I don't know how good that team actually is, but they are fun to watch. They're never out of a game. We saw the last couple plays of that, down by 7. Shedeur hucks one down there, hits the receiver right in the chest plate. He drops it. 3 seconds left in the game. He tries it again. This one gets to the end zone. It is a touchdown for the Colorado Buffaloes. Dramatic fashion, getting that thing tied up and sending it into overtime. What was that last pass? I think it was 50 plus yards. Let me look at that bad boy. 58 yards. Omarion Miller slid down, kind of got the grab. Just Sanders said it, got a prayer answered on that one. Then in overtime, the Buffs take the ball, get in there. They score on their opening drive. And then Travis Hunter, big stick, hits the Baylor running back. He fumbles through the end zone. Game over. Colorado wins. Exciting football. regardless of whatever your thoughts are on Prime or Shador, but that's exciting. That's fun to watch, especially when it comes down to the wire like that. So, and that's keeping the Buffs in contention there in the Big 12. So, I do think though that Utah is the class of that conference, and that'll come to light. I need to look at their schedule because I'm not sure how it plays out, but still so much football to be played. I don't want to start crowning them, but I love that physical brand of football they play. But as we've seen so far this year, um, college football is on crazy pills. And next week, the schedule gets a little bit better. And Bama, Georgia next week. That's a tasty, tasty game for this early in the season. So it'll be interesting to see two of the best go at it next week for early supremacy in the SEC. That is going to be a banging game. Cannot wait for that. All right. We'll be back in the middle of the week and we will preview the Sooners heading down to Auburn. First SEC road game for these Sooners with a ton of question marks going in. I'm excited to find out what happens. I still believe in this team. Defense, championship caliber. If we can just get anything out of the offense, eliminate the catastrophic turnovers and mistakes, I think this team can be in games. Brutal schedule, no doubt, but I think there's enough there. Get through this Auburn game. If we can figure out a way to get a win out of that, regroup 2 weeks for Texas, and then let's see what happens in that game. All right, Sooner Nation, take a deep breath, relax, try to enjoy the week, and we regroup. We come out, we support our team, win or lose, it doesn't matter. Sooner born, sooner bred, you know the drill with that. Make sure you subscribe to Sooner State of Mind on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, head on over to Believe.com. That's BLEAV.com. Go to shows, type in Sooner State of Mind, and you are locked. We have a ton of great content. Every team, every topic, everywhere. That is Believe.com. And if you want to watch Sooner State of Mind, head on over to YouTube and search the Football Dudes. We are there. Sooner State of Mind is brought to you by Bet Online. My name is Casey Mallon, and I am in a Sooner State of Mind. We'll see you soon.